Welcome to the Great Ideas Podcast, where we explore many topics, including leadership, teamwork, relationships, politics, economics, pop culture, health, sports, food, and anything else that's a great idea. I'm your host, Barry Moline. Today, we're talking with Latif Hamlani. Latif is a seasoned tech industry professional and CEO of SAAS Consultants. He shares his career journey, emphasizing the dynamics of employee loyalty in large corporations and how he sees that loyalty is not reciprocated from corporations back to employees. Latif emphasizes the importance of customer-centricity and how it influences every business decision. He discusses his transition from a technical role to leadership and how that led to SAAS Consultants, which focuses on partnerships and channel management. Latif also highlights his development of a really cool virtual assistant bot designed to streamline communication and task management for channel partnership managers. The episode offers valuable insights into leadership, innovation, and the evolving nature of work in the tech sector. It's a great conversation, and you're sure to learn a lot about the tech sector, leadership, and this new, super cool personal AI bot. Let's get into it. Welcome, Latif. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Barry. It's an honor.
Great. Well, Latif, on your journey to become the CEO, and along the way, tell me about a few of the big lessons that you've learned.
Yeah, that's that's a great question.
It's a broad question. There's no question.
No, I like it. I really like it. But I've been in the corporate world, been working for big tech for over 3 decades, and it's been an interesting journey, right? I mean, I've learned a lot. I've stumbled. I've made mistakes. I've learned from those mistakes. But I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is, and I have no regrets. I think working for big companies is good. It gives you a good start. Now, do you have to work for a big company for over 3 decades? That's debatable, right? Before you're kind of in that sweet spot where you can go off on your own and do your own thing. But one of the big lessons I learned, and I'm probably gonna rub a lot of corporate people off in the wrong way here, but I'm the CEO of my own company, and so I'm just gonna be honest and blunt. I don't have to. Is that I look back at my career and the amount of energy and passion and commitment I gave to these companies. And when I look at the energy, passion, commitment coming back, it was a very small fraction.
Are you talking about you had a lot of loyalty to the companies that you worked for, and you're saying that the companies had modest loyalty in return or modest
Yeah,
commitment in return?
correct.
The feeling that I hear about big tech is that I'm not going to say this quite right, but that people are a resource, fungible. We can expand, contract, and is that what you're getting to? That we don't want to get too close to our people because we might have to fire 5% of our workforce or 10%
Yeah,
of our workforce this
yeah,
year? And is that
yeah.
loyalty back from the company that's missing?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Barry. And, my advice to folks that are starting their career or their kind of, mid-journey is take that account before you put everything you have in your job, right? Because you've got it's gives and gets. And if the gives are significantly higher than the gets, then, you're not doing the right thing for yourself.
That's interesting, because do you think it's exclusive to tech because there tends to be a lot of movement? If we were talking about a nurse working at a hospital, for example,
hmm
who I think maybe there's a shortage of nurses and the hospital wants to hold on to their nurses. So maybe they have activities, and they're trying to engage with their nursing colleagues to keep them happy and so on.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
is that a different arrangement, sort of a different scenario compared to tech where employees may feel, well, in your case, you were there to do as great a job as you possibly could. And then the company was like, hey, thanks a lot. We'll
Mm,
see how our resources are this year or next year, or how our profits are.
that's
And
right.
we'll decide what areas to move into
That's right.
if you're, huh. So, but what's different about tech? Is it, are there a lot of people that want to come into tech? So demand is low for workers. I mean, I mean, to work in tech, you got to be
Uh-huh.
smart.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's people in tech are a dime a dozen.
Hmm.
They're not. You've got to be
Hmm.
intelligent. You've got to provide value to the company. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that the company doesn't return that, or may not return that. What do you think is the missing link there? Is it actually managers that don't care, or they don't have their priorities right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. So I haven't been in any other industry, so I can't really compare. But obviously, I've got friends that I've known all my life that are doing a variety of fashion and hospitality and travel and manufacturing. And I think for the most part, any large corporation is going to feel the same. And I think by the same token, any small company is also going to feel the same, regardless of the industry. I think what's going on in tech is there is a little bit of this gold rush mentality. Let me go work for a startup, make a lot of money. I want to work for the next NVIDIA, where my stocks are worth $10 million dollars in 3 years. So there is clearly a lot of demand, right? That people want to get into this. And I think a lot of startups and corporations take advantage of that. So, okay, you want a piece of this pie? We're giving you 100 stock options. Might be worth 5 million a few years from now. So you better, buddy, you better work hard. You don't want to lose those options.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, now you're head of SaaS consultants, and you're responsible for a lot of things. You're responsible for your product, your service, the people that you
Hmm.
work with, the outreach, the development, all that. This is your big responsibility, your awesome responsibility. How do you describe that? How do you balance all that out, that responsibility?
Yeah, another good question. I mean, how does someone prioritize the day? And the way I have prioritized, let me just put it this way, in the past before the startup, is to put the customer first. So, is what I'm doing going to add value to the customer? Because if I'm adding value to the customer, they're going to add value to my company, and hopefully my company adds value to me. Who knows, right? So that's kind of always guided my priorities. As a startup, I don't have any customers yet, but my priority is still the customer. So am I creating the kind of company that is going to build products and services that are going to delight the customer? That's my priority now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you think about that every day. Like, is this action I'm taking moving the company in that direction, or is it
Um,
detracting from that? Yeah, that's your
correct.
priority. Yeah.
Correct.
So when you were a kid, when you were a child, did you
Mm.
know what you wanted to be when you grew up? Did you want to be a brain surgeon? Did you want to?
No, I was terrible at drawings. So my the drawing of a human anatomy looked like a frog. And that's when I knew that no, biology was not the was not the right subject. And I loved math. I mean, math just came very naturally. Never even really had to study. I would just go to the exam, get my A's.
Hmm.
And so I knew that it had to be something kind of linked to math. And then I always enjoyed science fiction. I love my Star Wars and Doctor Who, and that's more of a British series. Maybe the audience here
I know
doesn't
it.
know what, no, Doctor Who. Okay. Knight Rider. right? Where the guy's talking to the car's talking back. And that fascinated me. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I'd love to create something innovative. This looks like a lot of fun.
What did you get your degree in? What's your education in? I know you went to Cornell, right?
Yeah. So I got my bachelor's at UT Austin. I'm a Longhorn. And then I got my master's at Cornell in what was at the time a pretty nascent field called massively parallel processing. And my thesis was called the systolic array graphics engine, which was basically a high performance computer that would do accelerated computing and would really handle those really tough, complex jobs. And I don't know if that's starting to ring a bell. There's this company whose name starts with an N, which is worth trillions of dollars now, that's kind of in the same space.
This is NVIDIA.
And they, they make chips for accelerated computing. So sometimes I wake up going, I need to kick myself because I should have just stayed in the lab and filed a patent, et cetera, et cetera. But
So when you shifted toward the mindset of a leader, do you feel like there was a moment that you moved from sort of the day to day, what you're describing in terms of the, we'll call it the green eye shades, looking at the
mm.
equations to the bigger picture? Was there a moment that you had that light bulb went off?
So I am by nature a big picture guy, right? So my job might not have required a lot of big picture thinking, but I would do the big picture thinking anyway, right?
Hmm.
And I would share my ideas with my management, and sometimes they would nod their head and yeah, that sounds pretty good. So so how much revenue are we bringing in next week? And so, I didn't let that bother me, but I guess the thing is that there isn't a light switch moment where you go from small thinking to big thinking. I think you're either always a big thinker or you're not.
Yeah. But you've always had that. You've always felt that. It's always that no matter what you're working on, you're always thinking about that. Now, where's this going? And then what
Yeah.
other uses can we have for this? Well, let's talk about your company, SaaS
Hmm.
Consultants,
Yeah.
SAAS Consultants, which I think is a great name and fantastic that you got it. Is the name actually? I didn't say .ai. Is
Hmm.
that your URL? SaaSconsultants.ai.
It is. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was quite
Well,
surprised in the middle of the night when I went on Pork Bun and it was available. I'm like, what? Really? Okay. Where's my credit card?
yeah, that's good. So, what do you do at SaaS Consultants?
Yeah. So, having been in the enterprise software industry for over 3 decades and having really had the good fortune of having built products, deployed, implemented products as a technical and business consultant, done training, support, pre-sales, sales. And the last 10, 15 years, I've really been a partnerships guy, a channel person. I said to myself, I've got all this experience. Why don't I bring that to a software company that's looking for an advisor on how to build, how to market, how to sell? But my superpower now is really that alliances, partnerships, channels piece, right? Is helping them either create a partner program or assess their current partner program and give them some advice on what needs tweaking. So that is really what I do as a consulting company. But what I'm really enjoying doing is building a bot that, and I call it the virtual mini me. I think I've got to do that thing, right? The Austin Powers thing. Mini. That is, I call it partner assistant.ai. That is going to do not all the stuff that I was doing as a channel manager at AWS and some of these enterprise software companies that I've managed, but at least do all the really boring stuff, right? The 2 to 3 hours a day I would spend updating deals, registering deals, writing emails. Have I used the right tone in this email? Oh, especially to my boss, have I used the right email? Oh, let me read this email a few times before I send it. Yeah, stuff like that, right? Which we really shouldn't be doing, right? We need to free ourselves up to do more strategic thinking, to be creative, to be innovative. And so I said, hey, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this mini me bot partner assistant that is going to help folks like me be more creative, be more innovative, be more human, go out to lunch, have a drink with a friend or a partner or a customer, right? Whatever, right?
Will it be able to, or does it already exist so that, or are you still working on it?
So, yeah.
So you'd say, I need to write an email to my client on this topic. Here's some inputs.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Is that what it will do?
That is one scenario. The other scenario is the bot knows what to write already.
Because it's tracking all of the documents in your computer and what
Yes,
you're searching on and what you're working on. It's familiar with everything you're working on.
that's right. It knows the last meeting you had, there were some actions where your channel partner said, hey, you've got this new product and I'd love to get my salespeople trained up on it. Now, if you've got 10,000 things going on, which typically channel partnership managers do,
Hmm.
I wouldn't blame someone for, maybe they've taken some notes, but then they forget to read their notes or they, whatever, right? Things slip through the cracks. Well, partner assistant is going to remember and it's going to ping me. Do you remember a week ago, you promised that you would set up a session for your channel partner to get trained on your new product. Well, you haven't done it yet. What's up?
Wow. Well, already in my note-taking software, let's see, what do I use? I use Fathom, and
Mm,
it tells me at the end of a meeting, or
hmm.
at the end of a meeting, it summarizes the action items. There's
Yeah.
usually 3 or 4 action items, and that everybody in the group promises we're going to get done. And then it just
Hmm.
goes off into its own world,
Yeah.
requiring me to access the notes, create
Yeah.
my own action items into my own
Yeah.
list of things to do software.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
but I'm the intermediary. I'm the one
There
that
you
has to
go.
look at the notes and say, let me
That's right.
decide which ones have to go in here.
That's
So
right.
this bot would be able to listen in and see all those things that are going on
See all
and
those
keep track of those
things, follow
actions that need
up
to take
with
place.
your exactly right. With your internal stakeholders, follow up with your external stakeholders, your customers, your suppliers, your partners. But it gets even more exciting than that, Barry, because we're not just talking about a note taker that follows up on actions, right? We're also talking about a bot that proactively would say, hey, you've just launched a new product. You have a channel partner in Europe that is a really good fintech company. And this product that you've just launched, it's a fintech product. You really ought to reach out to these people and you ought to have a conversation with them.
Okay, so when's it going to be available? I need it.
Oh, we all need it. We all need it.
Yeah, we do all need it.
I'm head deep, neck deep, whatever you call it. I'm all deep in documenting the workflow and the requirements, right? Based on a day in the life of which I've lived for the last 15 years, right? So how do I make that mini me? And the next step, to be quite honest, is to find a good software engineering services company that I can trust, rely on, that helps me make my prototype because I need to take that prototype to potential customers. I need to get investors excited. So that's kind of the next step. But I am asking my contacts, friends, people that I work with in the industry to give me feedback. I right now all I have is a product vision document, but my belief is we were talking about being customer obsessed, is it's never too early to talk to the customer. Never. And so I'm inviting folks in the industry, partnerships managers, channel managers, people that I know, people that I've worked with. I share my product vision document. I get on the phone with them. They go, "Yup, that makes sense. Did you? Oh, you should think about doing this. Hey, that's a great idea, right?"
Well, you're developing this in the tech sector. It seems to me like it applies everywhere. Yeah,
Spot on.
because I mean, it doesn't really matter what position you're in, a manager, I was a CEO for a long time. And one of the biggest problems that I had was in delegating to someone and then having to explain to them the sensitivity of an issue or just all the stuff around it. And then, you know what? Forget it. It's just faster for me to do it, even though it's not. Even though it's not. There are clearly things that you are in charge of this product activity, you're in charge of that one. But then there's those things that I'm doing, and some are just inefficient because the issues are sensitive.
That's right.
Or they involve board members or partners that are outside, and I'm
That's
dealing with
right.
high level people, and I don't just want to hand that over to a junior staffer.
That's
But
right.
if there was a tech bot that was assisting me right here at my side and reminding me or telling me about the things that I needed to do or that I promised or all those things that you described, I can see how that could help literally everyone who's got a lot of things going on. One of the things that leaders have is a lot of balls in the air. A lot of balls in the air. And sometimes a ball gets dropped and you have to keep all the other balls in the air while you go pick up that one and figure out what went wrong with it. So, okay. I like that service that you're talking about. So just as a dummy outside of the tech world, is it feasible? I don't want to say, is it easy to do? Without knowing anything about how stuff works behind this computer, is that just pulling together a lot of nodes and then sorting them out?
Yeah. With the technology that exists today, it is 100% feasible. In fact, I'm really hoping things go according to plan that by summer I'll have a working prototype that will demonstrate that we've got the technology to do this.
Yeah, that's cool. So your focus is on development, but when it comes time to marketing, it feels like it'll just take off vertically. It just seems like it. Because everyone could use that. Wow.
God willing, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really neat. So let's talk about back to leadership and employees and so on. What do you think are some of the key skills for employees today to be successful? They're coming into a business, they want to develop as leaders. What do you think are those skills that they should focus on?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, I've got a podcast, my own podcast that I do with a highly educated, very smart lady who understands the human brain. I understand the computer brain. So we're kind of getting together and talking about, hey, how are bots going to work with humans in the workplace?
Oh, what's the podcast called?
So it's called Coexistence. Humans and AI in the workplace. And I'll send you a link so you can. We've just done
put
one
it in the show
episode
notes.
so far.
Yeah.
I do this with a lady who goes by the name of Dr. Z.
Okay, that's it. Just Dr. Z.
Dr. Z. So we talk about this, right? We talk about this very subject is what is the organization of the future going to look like? And what do folks today need to do to prepare themselves for the organization of the future? Because you're going to have all of these bots building, selling, marketing, right? Blah, blah, blah. And as we said, you're going to be freed up to do more of the creative stuff, right? The innovative stuff. So organizations are not going to be that large anymore, right? So if I was building a software company, I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, I'd need $20 million and 1,000 people to get to $100 million ARR, right? Annual recurring revenue. Well, that's not true anymore. I could reach, again, God willing, $100 million ARR with 4 people and an investment of $100,000.
And that's because they have access to
AI,
more of the hive, the AI
AI.
brain that's out there that can pull information together. Yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating.
So to come
They
back to
they
your
still have
question,
to
because
organize their thoughts.
yes, but I haven't answered your question yet. So in order for a person to prepare for the future, you've got to think, well, if I'm just one of the 5 people that is helping this company lead their business, $100 million company, what kind of skills do I need to have, right? Because I can't just be just a salesperson or just a marketing person or just an HR person. I've got to be able to think across lines of businesses. And so my advice to young people who come along and say, well, what do you think we should do? I'm like, diversify, 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 have general knowledge, because the day of the specialist doing that one thing all day long is going to go away very soon.
Yeah, that is great advice because a lot of people do like to be a specialist, focus. And of course, it is
Mm.
important to follow your general interests.
Hmm.
But while you're moving along that road, is
Hmm.
also taking in information on many other things because you never
Yes.
know when there's going to be an overlap.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. So I'm not at all saying be a jack of all trades and a master of none. No, you've got to obviously know your stuff, but that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to know all the stuff that goes around it.
So, related to that, how do you continuously learn as a professional? How do you keep sharp? How do you find those things to pay attention to besides the core elements of what you have to do to create the bot, for example?
Yeah.
How do you broaden your knowledge?
I read a lot. I watch a lot across the spectrum. So I'm not just spending, 12 hours a day reading about technology.
Mhm.
I'm reading about the tariffs, and I'm reading about what's going on in the Middle East, and I'm reading about what's going on in Ukraine, and I'm reading a bit of philosophy on the side. And I love Rumi, the Persian poet from the
Mhm.
13th century. So I read that. And all of that helps in shaping who you are, and also ends up shaping the products and the services you provide to your customer.
So it's just having an open mind, just
Mm.
having the things that come along, still knowing your lane, but
Hmm.
also
Hmm.
seeing what's out
Yeah.
there on the fringes and being engaged because you never know maybe when something from
Yeah.
another node will come in and say, wait a minute, I think we could
Yeah.
use that philosophy here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to be like Waymo. You've got to have your lenses all around you.
In every direction. Yeah. So let's talk about decision making. When you've got a tough decision, how do you approach it? Do you have a process that you use?
I approach it again as a business person. With the first question I approach it with is this adding value to the customer or not? Right. So that's kind of priority number one as a business person. Right. But then I've got other priorities. Right. So this might be good for the customer, but maybe it's not so good for my employee for whatever reason. Right. Maybe it's the blame game. Oh, yeah, we'll fix it. I'm sorry, this guy messed up, right? So, yes, customer first, but be open, honest, kind. One of the things that I found, and again, I'm going to rub people off the wrong way, and I might be exiled from Silicon Valley, but authenticity sometimes is missing. Kindness is often missing. Humility is almost always missing, and there's no humor ever. So,
Wow.
as I build this company, I'm not just building a product or a service or a bot. What I'd like to do is I'd like to build a culture.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really important. Okay, so some lightning round questions a bit about you. You did describe some of the things that you like to do outside of work and how you learn. Any hobbies or activities that you do to unwind?
Mm. How do I answer this question without sounding
Golf,
like
pickleball.
I was going to say, how do I answer this question without sounding like a geek? And I think you know where I'm going. But no, I mean, aside from catching up on technology, I like to travel.
Huh?
I like to read about other parts of the world. I like to read about history and politics and talk to people over a cup of coffee or a drink, people from different walks of life.
Hmm.
So I think it's my passion is really learning more about the world and our brothers and sisters who occupy this planet better.
So, do you have a favorite? And this could be anything, a favorite book or a movie, a favorite song. It's just something that you gets you motivated.
Yeah, so song is something that me and my daughters were always uh loggerheads because they like all the new stuff. I like the stuff that sounds melodious and kind of has words that reach my soul.
Uh huh.
So music from the 70s and even the 60s, and
Yeah.
but they think it's really boring, which is okay. I put on my headset and I'm listening to my Garfunkel, and I'm listening to my Neil Diamond, and I'm listening to my Earth, Wind and Fire. You know what I mean. So yeah, music for me is very, very important in my meditation
Hmm.
routine, if you will. Music plays a very big part.
Yeah. Yeah. And but you're a reader, so you have a favorite book?
I love to read Rumi. So,
Yeah.
we were just discussing that, right? The
Yeah.
13th century Persian poet who has written some beautiful work, which has been translated into many, 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 many languages. And I'm sure most of your
Yeah.
viewers are familiar with Rumi.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite food or foods?
Oh, oh boy. I'm going to get into trouble with my wife here. Because
Anything that she cooks is that's number one. But beyond that,
because we come from different cultures, and so I of course like food that I grew up eating, which she does prepare. She knows how to prepare some of the dishes that we have in our culture, and she does it quite well. Maybe not as well as my mom, but she does it pretty well. So there you go. Now I'm in big trouble, and she's going to hear this, and that's going to be the
it's
end
all
of it.
it's all it's all good. It's all good. So finishing up talking about some advice.
No,
What's some good advice you've received in your life?
I think some of the best advice that I've received in my life was from my late father who passed away. In fact, next week is going to be a year. He was a tough cookie. He came from a very humble background. I think his first paycheck was, he used to always tell me something like 50 rupees,
Mm.
Indian rupees or Pakistani rupees or whatever, which I think probably like $1 a month.
Well,
And then he worked and he worked and he was a smart guy and an honest guy, and he made himself a pretty good life. His dream was to buy a yacht. He was a sailor, and so he sailed the world, and his dream was always working on a ship. But boy, would I like to own a ship someday. And he reached the goal. So he's a really good example in my life because he always said, you got to call a spade, and just be honest, be honest first with yourself, and be honest with other people, and don't care too much about what they think about what you're going to say.
hmm. Yeah. Be honest, straightforward, and just
Yeah, be
lay it on the
authentic,
line. Yeah. Yeah.
be generous, and be compassionate, and be kind. The things we just spoke about. Yeah, make people laugh. I mean, I my philosophy or my goal is to make three people laugh every day. So if I haven't made three people smile or laugh, then I haven't done my job.
That's great. That's really good. And spreading good cheer is really important. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, but any advice that you give to young people starting out in their careers? You talked
I
earlier about I think the notion of looking at many things around you, not
Yeah.
just your core interests, but I
Yeah.
don't know, somebody who's just graduating from college.
I think probably the best advice in the limited time that we have is just follow your passion, right? Just do what you really enjoy doing. Because if you're going to study medicine just because you think you can make a lot of money and live in a big fancy house, then that's not going to go very far. If you think you're going to study computers and join the next NVIDIA and become a tech billionaire, that's not going to go very far. You've really got to have a passion for what you do. And that passion for something that you do could be something not at all significant. It could be something pretty damn basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very simple. You're not solving world hunger. You're not unleashing AI into the world, right? You're just doing something that you really enjoy doing. But if you're passionate about it, then you're going to be really good at it. And if you're really good at it, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to work with you.
Yeah, that's great. And we'll pick up on your passion. Well, great advice and great conversation. So I wish you great success with SAAS Consultants and the bot that you're creating, and we'll stay in touch to see how it's going. Okay.
I appreciate that. And as your offer, you offered me this tour of the Gold Rush area that you live in Sacramento. Is that still on the table, or?
I've been to the place where the gold rush started, which is a little bit west of here.
I see.
Or is it west? No, it's east of here. Thank you. Yeah, a little bit east of there. But there is a particular location where it started, where the panning for gold started. And yes, I'll give you a tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the deal that we can make, Barry. You can show me the gold rush that happened in your area, and I will show you the gold rush that's happening in my area in Silicon Valley right now.
That's perfect.
How does that sound?
That's great. Thank you, Latif. It's been great talking with you.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate it.
Thanks to Latif Hamlani for being our guest today. And thank you for listening. If you want to get in touch, or if you have an interesting topic and you know someone you think would be a great guest on the show, send me an email at barry@barrymoline.com. And please leave a 5-star review, which helps others find their way to the Great Ideas Podcast.